I am great. Thank you for asking. I just feel super blessed and honored to have you sharing space with us today, and giving the people, the opportunity to get to know you and your phenomenal story and just what a wonderful woman, executive, and leader you are.
I'm excited. I am happy to be here and thankful that you reached out.
Thank you. And thank y'all at Viacom CBS for sponsoring. This conversation is called Owning the Table. And as the founder and CEO of BWA Studios, I really like to show people the women, the Black women who are out here, doing the work. It's so important to us that we showcase, the women doing the work. So anyway, the Black women doing the work. So anyway, this is really just a beautiful opportunity for us. And thank you again for folks to see you and really know, hey, she exists. So for everybody out there, I'm just going to go ahead and read off Ti-Shea's amazing bio. Ti-Shea Meadows has worked in the entertainment business for over 22 years. She's a Viacom CBS veteran who's worked her way through the ranks as vice president of operations and channel planning. Ti-Shea helps to develop and deliver a roadmap for entertainment and youth logistics and division culture initiatives. With a BA in forensic accounting from NYU and over 2 decades of entertainment experience, Ti-Shea also holds a degree in radio and television production. She's an advocate for multiple diversity and inclusion efforts within the entertainment and youth group, including a new mentorship program for high schoolers and Action Alliance. Outside of work, Ti-Shea is a member of NAMIC and supports numerous nonprofit organizations. One of the organizations close to her heart is called Pink for Africa. That raises breast cancer awareness, education, and financial support to women across the African diaspora. That's Ti-Shea. Everybody, let's go ahead and clap it up for Ti-Shea. Yes. So let's jump right in and really tell the people where you're from.
Okay, I am from Brooklyn, New York. Born and raised, so yes.
Yes, you're from Brooklyn. And being in media, has that always been a dream of yours? Like, how did you get into the media world?
Yes, my father was in the media world, in the industry, so it was something that I grew up as a industry baby. So I knew I always wanted to be in the industry. I knew I wanted to be behind the scenes. The whole camera and everything is not for me, but behind the scenes is. So I knew I always wanted to be part of it in some way.
Yeah, and that's so interesting. What did your father do that really motivated you to want to pursue this career? It's so interesting. We get an idea of how we can be in media, and that's usually in front of the camera. Like for me, it was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and be a talk show host. But then once I really started to learn behind the scenes and, you can be a producer. Oh, like this is where the real power lies. Like for you, what was motivating there and watching your dad?
It was, again, he was in operations. So it's interesting that I ended up in that role as well, but that's not where I started. I wanted to, again, watching videos, growing up every day, coming home, seeing the videos on TV. I was like, wow, but I wanted to be able to create them. I wanted to do the editing and be able to tell my story. So I started in that lane first, and that's where the radio and TV production degree came in. And then once I was in the mix, it just kind of morphed into something else. It became, I didn't love the travel aspect of it so much, being gone for months at a time. And then I ended up I've always loved numbers, always loved numbers. And being able to see those different roles behind the scenes that I could still be part of that world and those shows, but still deal with the numbers as well, learning those different roles that were available to me.
Yeah, I think that's so important for you to name. Like you found a way for all of your passions and interests to become your career. And things that you're good at too, right? Because not everybody's good at numbers. so so you found a way to do that and to do it at a really high level too. And I'm excited for people to learn more about your day to day. So could you describe to share your day to day and some cool responsibilities that you have that like only you have within the company?
I would say some of the cool responsibilities is that's unique in a way. With my role, I am a liaison between a bunch of different departments. And I mean, my day to day may be talking to production, development, finance, looking at budgets, talking with press. So I am touching, different departments at different levels. So I enjoy that part. And it really allows me to see the infrastructure of how the company operates. And that part I enjoy the most, I think.
That is so exciting because you're at the helm of a, multi billion dollar corporation. And you have your hand in so many pieces of the puzzle, so many different
Yes,
departments.
yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
It's exciting seeing how each group kind of works as a whole to make life, to make that show happen. Like, you have your production team, your development, making it happen, and your market, and that is such a big piece of it as well, and then how press comes into play with it. Just seeing how all of the teams work together cohesively to make it happen.
Yeah, that is just so powerful to witness. I've seen you in a work context, and it's just like, whoa, this powerhouse woman who everybody's coming to for the answer. And yeah, it's just amazing to see how also your organization holds you, the trust and respect and ownership that you have in the space. So as we talk about owning the table and our targeted audience with this is animators and artists, what type of notes or advice would you have for these artists as we talk about owning the table?
Don't be afraid to ask questions. And like you said, sometimes the creative brain operates completely different, than a finance brain will. And sometimes you don't know the answers to those questions, and it's okay to ask. Sometimes I sit with people and they be like, I'm going to ask a stupid question. I'm like, nope, no questions are stupid. Ask away. So don't be afraid to ask those questions to learn more about it. And if it's something that you don't know how to do, don't be afraid to ask those questions as well. Well, how do I get to that point? Do you have any suggestions? Is there the one thing that I do love about the E&Y group too? There are a lot of workshops. So if you're not aware of how to do something, there are avenues you can go towards to learn it. So
yeah,
ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah, seek out resources and ask questions. That is really great advice. And I would love to hear, if that's something that you've implemented throughout your career.
As far as asking questions,
Yeah.
yes. Asking questions and being clear on what you need and what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Some key things. And I remember it was something that my father and I just grew up hearing. And I don't know if maybe it's a Southern thing, but it would be a closed mouth don't get fed.
Yeah, it does not.
So it's always be clear on what you want and put your goals forth on how to get there.
Yeah, clarity is key. And, I want to hop back a little bit to your day to day because the operational piece is a part of it. And there's also channel planning. So would love to dive deeper into that because, right, in that work, you are working with, all of the different departments and planning for the channels. So please talk a little bit more about that.
That I am usually working with the schedulers for a good, let's say, 60% of the day. And that is across the E&Y team, whether it be from MTV, comedy, VH1. And it is helping them look at their grids, how they're going to schedule out those shows. And with that comes working with development, looking at GTAs, like when GTA green light to air, when that show is going to be ready to actually place on that rollout to air. And then also looking at the make sure that, yeah, we would love to air all of this. Can we afford to air it all in its time span? So my day-to-day, a big bulk of that is working with the programming team. Working with research is also a big part of it, because once you plan out that rollout, does it hit the ratings? So yeah. A big part of that day is working with development, tracking to see where the shows are, when the shows would be available, working with programming to see when is the best time, the optimal schedule to air it. And press jumps into play once you have your air date as well.
Nice. And if you don't mind, could you just let the people know what GTAs are in case they don't know?
Yes, that would be green light to air.
Green light to air. So essentially there are 9 networks within the Viacom CBS umbrella. What do you have? CMT, what is a lot.
A little more than 9.
A lot of networks, including MTV, VH1, BET.
Pop is in there, TV Land,
CMT, all of that. And that all, everybody, that all goes on Ti-Shea's desk. That's interesting, right? Because a lot of people might not know exactly what a scheduler does, or what a researcher does within the TV and film context. So just the fact that you work so closely with those folks, the actual channel planning is happening on your desks, you all's desk collectively. That's so exciting. And for me, I actually did not know that your job was a job until I met you.
Thank you. I love it. I enjoy it. And each day is exciting. Each day is exciting. And that's the piece that I love about being in this industry. It is constantly evolving and forcing you to kind of change along with it. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. And as an executive, right, you are, you really have a pulse at what your organization is looking for, right? The content comes to you first. I mean, Nickelodeon is under Viacom CBS.
Yes, it's not a brand that I touch because I'm under E&Y, but it is under the Viacom CBS umbrella.
Awesome. So, as an essential executive at one of the top media organizations in the world, as an essential executive, which I know, and I know your team knows that you are, how do you think that you own the table? And I can kind of explain where that concept comes from. Really owning the table to me means not asking for a seat at the table. It means creating your own table where you are able to influence how, diverse, inclusive, and innovative your company is. The conversation, is often about having a seat at the table. And that's just not going to work if we really want to transform the media industry. So really the concept for me is, how do we transform and reimagine this idea of equity in entertainment, and have a table where ownership is an equity, is shared outside of, just one homogenous group.
Right. No, I definitely agree. I definitely have heard the stories and had my share of, how do I get a seat on that table? How do I make sure I'm heard? And then also learning to create your own table and own it. And part of that, I think, has been a little bit helpful for me is with me working with a lot of these groups and learning the infrastructure and being able to pause a minute, sit back and look at the entire picture, sometimes I'm able to point out, certain processes and certain, things that can be refined and make the communication easier within each group. Coming to that table with that knowledge and being able to show, hey, we can get better results and be more efficient by doing it this way. To me, that is owning the table, being able to bring a process that drives results.
Yeah. Yeah. Being able to create a process that drives results. Love that. Where do you feel like inclusivity plays into that? I really like to say that the industry is going to be driven forward as we are more and more intentionally inclusive and intentionally seeking diverse content and making sure that diverse creators are bringing us that content and are at the helm of that content. And really, that's driven by the belief that the quality and scope of the work, the reach of it really grows when we have that authenticity present, that relatability is less present when you know that something is coming from an honest and very genuine place.
Yes, completely agree. And I think part of that is having a diverse team and, and not being just a one-time initiative, but it's something that is constantly built into that network. And one of the things that I am actually really excited about, and that actually just got completed this week, is a program that we are hoping that can serve as a pipeline. So it's something that is consistent. So there is a diverse pipeline that we have created, and even for college graduates, sometimes you graduate from college and you get out into that world and you're still asked for your experience. They still want you to know that experience and still bring something other than that degree sometimes. So this program, we are hoping to get some candidates through the door within programming and research that we can grab straight out of college and pay them for on-the-job training. And it's working within research and development, and programming. So you're getting the knowledge of those two worlds in a major corporation, learning how to pull information from Nielsen, learning what that means, working with a rollout, GTA, and being in that space. I think it's so important to have programs like that that remain, that are constant and are constantly bringing diverse talent through the door.
Wow. Wow. I just want to commend you and you all for making that happen, because that on the job training is so important and we need more of it. In this industry, it's so important to invest in talent and to, educate more folks intimately on the different career paths that there are. So thank you. Thank you for making it happen. But
I'm excited for applicants to come through the door. I'm going to be posting on LinkedIn. I will make sure I get the word out as much as I can. Taylor, I'm going to lean on you too.
Yes, whatever you need. That was my next question. Like, where can folks apply? So the bootcamp site, we will definitely get it up on the bootcamp site. So it's for programming and for research.
Yes, it's for this particular program is for programming and research, and it's an 18-month program that revolves within research and programming. Now, for the E&Y group, that one was just completed this week. But the E&Y group also has a similar program like that for development and for marketing. So a part of it is getting that word out as well and letting people know that these programs exist.
Wow. Yes, y'all. The programs exist. And I think, for development too, for all of the folks who know that they have a creative brain and know that they want to play a big role in what content gets greenlit and it's out there. And then programming too, being a part of the selection process of when things air and how that works, and understanding again the infrastructure of a big corporation like Viacom. These are amazing opportunities. These are really amazing. So for you, I mean, your day to day is very busy, very busy. So for you, like, what's your why? Why, and how you really make the time and space for building equity in the entertainment world? Like really, what's your why there?
Yeah, I am beyond passionate about it. I want to see those stories, that authentic, truth. I want to see that, um, just coming from a place from where I grew up at, and just knowing how great, there are so many great writers out there, so much talent out there, and just happy to see the next person get to that next level.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have that visual there to let people know that there's a way to break through. It's hard, it's not easy to break through, but don't give up, keep pushing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't give up, keep pushing. And I think it's really important to think about and know who your community is. Can you share maybe some Black female executives? They don't have to have been Black female executives, but any folks who really supported you in your journey in the community that you had, because it really does take a village. I'll say for animation programs specifically, a lot of Black women, people of color, non-binary folks of color, trans Black women are, if not, the only person in only person that looks like them in that year of school for them. They also might be the only person within the university. It's such an isolating experience. And I know that some folks feel like, hey, I can rise on my own. I don't need anyone else for me to do that. But in my lived experience, I know very intimately that I cannot do anything alone. And for me, the idea of owning the table is really for us to sit at a table and feel a sense of ownership, proudness, just joy in the work that we're able to do together.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, I think back to decades ago when I first started at Viacom. Yeah, there weren't a lot of faces that matched me at that time, but there is one woman that stuck out to me, and her name was Phyllis Bell. Mm. She worked in payroll. She's no longer with the company, but she was so amazing on just being there for me. She had been at the company for years and just teaching me the ropes, especially through the finance world. So I am thankful that I had support like that, and I think to the team that I worked with, Richard Beavers, Gail Gaddis, that whole team that really fostered you and made you feel like family, and when you want everybody won.
Yeah.
That and also just throughout the company, throughout the years, and I have to call it out, Chris McCarthy has always been a supporter and has been supportive of me, and I will always be grateful for him for that. So
yeah.
I feel thankful and blessed that I have had great people by my side.
Yeah. Seek out the support. Yeah, I'm so happy to hear you saying this and talking about it, because as a young CEO, like, I don't really make any decision without talking to 4 or 5 people first. There's just so many people who have, certain experiences that I haven't had yet, certain lived experiences. So why not lean on their expertise, whether that's business savvy or, emotional intelligence, which I learned a lot of from my mom. It's really important to know that you don't have to do it all by yourself. Especially if you're a person that allows your passion to show, which we should all be doing. And if you're sharing work with the world that is meaningful, we are in such a crazy time right now, right? And it's more important that we support those who want to do meaningful work now more than ever to move the industry forward. The right supporters, right? They'll come to Shea and they will find you and nurture you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Completely.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Is key.
Yeah.
Industry, like I said, it's constantly evolving, and it has its challenges at times, but it is wonderful if you have that support to be able to talk to and work those problems out and find different solutions and different perspectives.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks so much, Ti-Shea. So what do you want this next generation of people in animation specifically to know as they move forward in their careers?
I am so excited about animation. Right now, it is something big that EY is, building on and doubling down on. And I'm beyond excited. I'm excited for Jody. I'm excited for Beavis and Butthead. Like I'm animation is so versatile and, allows you to be creative on a whole different level, create worlds, create different characters that, it's just a great amount of expression and creativity you can explore with animation. I'm excited for people to go out there, make it happen and be unique and be authentic and just bring in new content.
Yeah. And bring in new content. And I want to ask a juicy question. As you all are meeting at Viacom CBS and your E&Y teams, that's entertainment and youth, everyone. What are y'all looking for? What are you like, oh, this is what's grabbing us. This is what we need here within the organization, this type of content. Like, what are y'all looking for right now?
Wow. Loaded question. It depends on what brand, because I work with so many other different brands. It depends on the brand and looking at that rollout. Again, VH1 has a specific role, MTV has one as well. It's really hard to say if we're going out and saying what do we want the most. I know we're just looking for authenticity. I think I could be safe in saying that authenticity, to be able to have different stories, reflect different facets of people. Just content that people can relate to.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And can you speak for the artists out there, really speak to the power in being yourself? I think the world right now is really supporting this, and I don't think the artists out there, on Twitter, I don't think those young folks are having an issue, or those artists are having an issue with this idea. But what about when it comes to leveling that up? So maybe you have your first pitch meeting, or even if you got a show picked up, and this is your first time doing that, and you've never done it. What should artists and young entrepreneurs in animation know about the power of being yourself?
Being yourself is so powerful, because again, there are thousands of people who have stories that they want to tell and get in front of people. And it is so important that when you are, having these pitches and talking to someone, that you dig deep and remind yourself to be authentic to yourself and bring out what makes you unique. That thing that's going to separate you from what this person you're pitching to is heard maybe 10, 20 pitches a day. What is going to make you stand out that makes you unique? Be unique, be yourself. So I think that's important in making people kind of remember you when you leave that room.
Yeah, exactly. And once you leave that room, you know that you've given you, and that's who you are. And I think it's also important for artists to be aware that you should want right partnership. So if people don't get you and your story and your IP, your intellectual property that you're sharing with them and that you want to give to the organization, you run the risk. If you still go with them, you run the risk of your idea and your story being changed because they don't understand you and they might not understand what you're looking to bring. So right partnership is so important, and that sometimes takes time.
Yes, yes. And I say that is a big piece of the pie to just make sure you're doing your prep work, make sure you're doing your research and you know who you are extending to, know who you are trying to get in business with and make sure that your values and your goals align.
Yeah, make sure your values and goals align. Right, because we talk about, as we talk about owning the table, if you're coming into a room or a business conversation with that mindset, and wherever you go, they either don't have it or they aren't willing to transform it, which, I mean, who in 2020 is like that? So, you just don't want to stifle, right, that potential or that potential growth. And as we talk about owning the table and the rising with others piece of that, is that something you feel like the entertainment industry is working on? Like generally in entertainment, do you think that the attitudes are changing to, okay, well, equity needs to be a part of this conversation, and really supporting artists needs to be a part of the conversation? Like, what are your thoughts?
Yes, I definitely think the industry is leading towards that equity is definitely important. And again, working with research and them pulling in together data from what other companies are doing and where the industry is as a whole. I'm definitely seeing that in the reports that are being reviewed. I'm definitely seeing that there's definitely a movement. The industry is definitely moving towards trying to make those changes.
I love to hear that because for me, it feels like the pressure is on.
Yes, yes, yes. It's interesting to just watch the results, you know?
Yeah, because you have the data right in front of you.
Watch the results. And that's all. You can know the movement is happening and you can hear that people want to make changes, but it's important to make sure those results are actually happening.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, y'all heard it right here from the mouth of an executive at one of the major media companies in the world, that the equity conversations are happening, and the desire is there. And people like Ti-Shea are out here working for results, those tangible outcomes, which is what I'm all about, and BWA as well. And so what I hope is that this conversation inspires, and really a reason that I wanted to have this conversation with you for so deeply. Just thank you, Ti-Shea, for being a part of the boot camp. But anyway, the reason I wanted to have this conversation with you is because your story is inspiring. Just to know that you exist and that you're working and building these very important programs while you still have a very important and demanding job. But your dedication to the future is so commendable, and just thank you. It's very inspiring. It brings hope. I think it brings hope to the industry because the intentions are there to really move us towards more equity, but traditionally that's not what we see. That's not the makeup of the well-known media organizations that we know, the number of successful, Black animation studio owners, there aren't many. And so with that, it's just very helpful for us to be having this conversation. So thank you. And as we prepare to close, I'd love to hear, a hopeful message from you, knowing that it's still hard, even though the industry is changing. It's still hard for a lot of artists in animation, character designers, 2D animators, 3D modelers, riggers, you name it. It's still hard for folks to find work. I know a Black woman who is a line producer, a production manager, and a lot of the feedback she often gets is that she's either, overqualified or underqualified for a role. And even though the work ethic is there, even though that's there, people aren't willing to take a chance with her and give her the opportunity. And that's a story that runs throughout animation. So anyway, that is my long-winded way of asking you, what type of hopeful message do you have for people in animation as they wait for the animation industry to catch up with who they are, honoring that and honoring what that brings to the table, and also, showing them, as we wait for them to the industry to show them that there is a place at the table for them?
I would say to stay persistent. You will hear, you're going to hear no's. You might hear 100 no's before you get a yes. Try not to be too discouraged. Be persistent. Stay true to yourself. Find ways to think outside the box sometime. Find that unique spot that maybe will just kind of shed light, have people look in a different way. And networking is big too. Networking, make sure you have a good network, go out there, network, let people know your name, share your ideas, and put forth the true you.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Well, I really wish that we could continue this conversation, but Ti-Shea has to go to work. So Ti-Shea,
I have to go to work, but again, as we go through and we have more programs to share and more opportunities, I will try to make sure I am letting the word be known in all different outlets. I am excited about bringing on some applicants, receiving some applicants and getting them in for the process, the interviewing process, and hiring some people. So thank you, Taylor, for doing this, for helping to shed light, for helping to, if it is, give people a glimmer of hope that, it's a tough industry, but keep pushing. Don't give up hope. There are people out there that are fighting for you, that are trying to open doors and create those opportunities.
Yes, thank you, Ti-Shea. It is truly an honor. A Black woman owning the table, everybody. So thank you, Ti-Shea. Everybody, stay tuned.